I don't want to see either of you again. Get out of my house." Jimin's voice shattered the quiet living room so violently that even the rain outside seemed to disappear. Jungkook froze beside the dining table, one hand still holding the glass of water he had been carrying toward Jimin. Taehyung stood several steps behind him, his face drained of color. Across the room, Jimin's mother stared at her son in disbelief, her fingers tightening around the edge of the kitchen counter. For several seconds nobody moved. The clock on the wall ticked once, then twice. Jimin's chest rose sharply as he fought to control his breathing. His eyes were red, but he refused to let the tears falling down his cheeks become visible enough for anyone to comfort him. "Jimin," his mother whispered. "What are you saying?" "I said they need to leave." His mother looked toward Jungkook. The glass in Jungkook's hand trembled. "Jimin, we came because you stopped answering our calls," Jungkook said quietly. "We were worried." "Worried?" Jimin laughed once. There was no humor in it. "You're worried now?" Taehyung lowered his gaze. That small movement made Jimin angrier. "You knew," Jimin said. Taehyung slowly looked up. "You both knew." Jungkook's expression changed. "Knew what?" Jimin stared at them as though he could no longer recognize the two people standing in his living room. "That's the problem," he whispered. "You still expect me to believe you?" His mother stepped forward. "Please, all of you, sit down. Whatever happened, we can talk about it." "No." Jimin's answer was immediate. His mother stopped. "I don't want to talk." "Then tell me why you're this angry," pressed his lips together. "Because the truth was too painful, because saying it aloud would make everything real. Because for the past 3 weeks, he had been waking up every morning hoping that the strange feeling in his chest was only anxiety, only exhaustion, only his imagination. But it had never been his imagination. 3 weeks earlier, Jimin had found an envelope beneath the windshield wiper of his car. There had been no name on it, no address. Only 4 words written in black ink. "You trust the wrong people at first." He had thrown it away. Then another envelope appeared. Then another. Each one contained something only a close friend could have known. The nickname his mother had given him as a child. The location of the small cafe where he and Jungkook had once hidden from the rain. A photograph of Jimin sleeping on the sofa in his own apartment. And finally, a single sentence. "Ask Jungkook what he hides," Jimin had asked. Jungkook had denied everything. Taehyung had told him not to investigate. That was when Jimin began to understand that something was terribly wrong. Now, standing in front of them, he could no longer pretend otherwise. "You told me there was nothing going on," Jimin said. "There isn't," Jungkook answered. "Then why did you lie to me?" "I didn't." "You did." "Jimin, stop." The word echoed through the house. Jungkook fell silent. Jimin wiped his cheek with the back of his hand. "I gave you both every chance." His voice became quieter. "I asked you directly. I asked you if someone had contacted you. I asked you if there was something happening behind my back." Swallowed. "And you both looked me in the eyes and said no." Stared directly at him. "You couldn't even look at me when you said it." Closed his eyes for a moment. That was enough. Jimin's mother noticed. "There really is something," she said. Taehyung opened his eyes. "Mrs. Park." "Don't call me that," she said firmly. "Not until someone tells me what is happening." Jungkook placed the glass on the table. "I wanted to tell him." Jimin's head snapped toward him. "You wanted to?" Jungkook nodded. Taehyung stopped me, looked at him sharply. "Jungkook." "No." Jungkook's voice hardened. "I'm done hiding it." Jimin's mother stared between them. "Hide what?" The room became unbearably still. Taehyung slowly lowered himself into a chair. His hands were shaking. "It started before the first message," he said. Jimin didn't move. "What started?" Taehyung looked at him. "Someone was following you." Felt the blood leave his face. His mother covered her mouth. Jungkook immediately stepped toward Jimin, but Jimin stepped backward. "Don't." Jungkook stopped. "We saw the same car twice," Taehyung continued. "Then 3 times. We didn't know who it belonged to." "You didn't tell me." "We didn't want to scare you." "You didn't want to scare me," Jimin's voice cracked. "Instead you let me walk around believing I was losing my mind. We were trying to protect you." "You were lying to me." Jungkook's jaw tight. "Yes." Admission struck harder than any denial could have. Jimin stared at him. Jungkook looked exhausted. "I lied because I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Of losing you." Jimin's expression softened for half a second, then the pain returned. "You already did." Looked down. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Jimin's mother walked toward her son and gently touched his shoulder. He flinched. She immediately withdrew her hand. That small reaction hurt her more than his shouting. "My son," she whispered. Jimin finally looked at her. "Sorry, Mom." What, for bringing this into your house? You didn't bring it here. Looked toward the windows, his breathing stopped. Across the street, beneath the yellow glow of a street lamp, a dark vehicle was parked. Its engine was running. Jimin had seen it before, the same black car. The same tinted windows, the same vehicle that had appeared outside his apartment. His face went pale. Jungkook noticed. What is it? Jimin pointed toward the window, that car. Jungkook immediately moved toward the curtains. Taehyung stood. Don't. Ignored him and pulled the curtain aside. The street was empty. The car was gone. For several seconds, none of them spoke. Then Jimin's phone vibrated. Everyone turned toward it. The screen displayed an unknown number. Jimin stared at the message. His fingers became cold. Opened it. A photograph appeared. It showed the four of them inside the house, taken from outside, taken only seconds ago. Beneath the photograph were 7 words, "You should have listened to them, Jimin." Jimin dropped the phone. His mother gasped. Jungkook picked it up. His expression changed instantly. Jimin. What? Jungkook turned the screen toward him. Jimin stared at the photograph. Then he noticed something. In the reflection of the living room window behind the photographer, there was another figure. A man wearing a dark hood, and beside him stood a woman. Jimin's mother suddenly became silent. Her face had lost all its color. Jimin looked at her. Mom, she didn't answer. What is it? Her eyes remained fixed on the photograph. Finally, she whispered something so quietly that Jimin almost didn't hear it. I know that woman. Jimin's heart dropped. Who is she? His mother looked at him. And for the first time that night, Jimin saw genuine fear in her eyes. She was your father's secretary. The room fell silent. Jimin stared at her. My father has been gone for years. I know. Then why is she here? His mother looked toward the dark window. I don't know. Jungkook slowly placed the phone on the table. Taehyung stepped closer. Then we need to leave. Looked at him. No, Taehyung frowned. What? You heard me. Jimin's voice was steadier now. You two are leaving. Stared at him. Jimin, this isn't the time. It is exactly the time. You can't stay here alone. I don't want you here. Why? Jimin looked at him with tears in his eyes. Every time I look at you, I remember that you knew something was wrong and chose not to trust me with the truth. Jungkook's eyes became wet. I was trying to keep you safe. You don't get to decide what I can survive. Jungkook said nothing. Jimin turned toward the door. Go. Looked at Jungkook. Jungkook remained still. Please, Jimin said. That single word broke something inside him. Jungkook slowly walked toward the door. Taehyung followed. Before stepping outside, Jungkook turned around. I won't stop looking for whoever is doing this. Didn't answer. Whether you forgive me or not, Jungkook continued, I will make sure you're safe. Looked away, the door closed. His mother remained beside him. For a long moment they stood in silence. Then she whispered, you didn't really want them to leave. Jimin's eyes filled with tears. Then why did you make them? Because I don't know who I can trust anymore. His mother pulled him into her arms. Jimin finally broke. He buried his face against her shoulder and cried without trying to hide it. I thought they were my safest place. His mother held him tighter. The people we love make mistakes because they're afraid. What if their mistake destroyed everything? She didn't answer, because she didn't know. Later that night, after Jimin finally fell asleep, his mother remained awake in the kitchen. She stared at the photograph on the table. Her hands trembled. Then she opened an old drawer. Inside was a small wooden box. She had not opened it in years. She unlocked it with a key hidden beneath a stack of old documents. Inside was a photograph of her husband standing beside another man, and behind them stood the same woman from Jimin's photograph. Her mother touched the picture with trembling fingers. Then she noticed something she had never seen before. On the back of the photograph was a date. The date was 3 days before Jimin was born. Underneath it was a handwritten sentence. If anything happens to me, never let Jimin meet him. Her mother's breathing stopped. She looked toward the hallway. Jimin was asleep upstairs. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered without speaking. A man's voice came through the darkness. You should have told him the truth years ago. She froze. Who are you? A quiet laugh came through the phone. You already know. The call ended. Her mother slowly lowered the phone. For the first time in decades, she understood that the past had never disappeared. It had only been waiting. The next morning, Jimin woke to find Jungkook standing outside the house. He was soaked from the rain. Taehyung stood beside him. Jimin opened the door but said nothing. Jungkook looked exhausted. I know you told us not to come back. Then why are you here? Jungkook held out a small envelope. Because we found this. Stared at it. The car, his heart tightened. Whose car? Jungkook didn't answer immediately. Then he looked directly into Jimin's eyes. Your father's old car. Jimin's face went blank. That car was sold. We thought so too. Stepped forward. Someone has been driving it. Looked at the envelope. What is inside? Jungkook's expression became serious. Something your father left behind. Slowly took it. His fingers trembled as he opened the envelope. Inside was a single photograph. His father was standing beside a young woman. Jimin recognized her immediately. It was the same woman from the photograph sent the night before, but that wasn't what frightened him. In the corner of the photograph stood a little boy. A boy who looked exactly like Jimin, except Jimin had never seen the photograph before. And according to the date printed beneath it, the photograph had been taken 5 years before he was born. Jimin stared at the picture, unable to breathe. His mother appeared behind him. The moment she saw it, she stopped. Jimin slowly turned. She closed her eyes. Jimin's voice broke. Who is that boy? His mother said nothing. Mom, who is he? Tears appeared in her eyes. And finally, after years of silence, she whispered the truth. He was the reason your father disappeared. Looked back at the photograph. Jungkook and Taehyung remained silent. The rain continued falling outside. And for the first time, Jimin understood that the secret surrounding him was far older than either of his friendships. It had begun before he was born. It had survived his father's disappearance. It had followed his family for decades. And now it had returned for him. Jimin slowly folded the photograph. I want the truth. His mother looked at him, all of it, stepped closer. Then we'll find it together. Looked at him for a moment, neither spoke. The anger was still there, the betrayal was still there. But beneath it was something neither of them could completely destroy, trust that had been damaged but not yet dead. Jimin opened the door wider. Come inside. Jungkook hesitated. Are you sure? No. Looked toward the photograph in his hand. But I'm tired of being afraid. Taehyung quietly entered. Jungkook followed. The three of them stood in the living room where Jimin had thrown them out the night before. Nothing had been repaired, nothing had been forgiven. But they were finally standing on the same side of the mystery. Jimin's mother placed the old wooden box on the table. There is something else you need to know. Looked at her, she opened the box. Inside was a faded letter bearing his father's handwriting. Jimin reached for it. His fingers brushed the paper. Then he stopped. Why didn't you ever tell me? His mother looked at him through tear-filled eyes. Because your father made me promise. What did he promise you? She shook her head. Not what he promised me. She turned the letter around. What he promised someone else. Unfolded it. The first sentence made his heart stop. Jimin, if you are reading this, it means they have found you. He looked at Jungkook, then Taehyung. Neither of them knew what to say. Jimin continued reading. And as the truth began to emerge from the faded ink, he realized that the people he had feared were not necessarily the ones who had betrayed him. Some of them had been protecting him. Some had been lying. Some had been afraid. And one person had been waiting for years for the moment Jimin finally discovered who he really was. By evening, the rain had stopped. The city outside was quiet. Jimin stood beside the window, holding his father's letter. Jungkook stood several feet behind him. Taehyung sat silently on the sofa. Jimin looked at their reflections in the glass. I still don't forgive you, nodded. I know, but I don't want you to leave again. Jungkook's eyes softened. I won't. Taehyung smiled faintly. Then we're staying, turned toward them. For now, wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't the restoration of everything they had lost. It was simply a beginning. And sometimes a beginning was more powerful than an apology. Jimin looked down at the final page of his father's letter. There was only one sentence left. Do not trust the person who tells you they are protecting you. Jimin slowly raised his eyes. His mother was standing behind him. Jungkook was watching Taehyung. Taehyung was watching Jimin. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Jimin folded the letter and placed it back inside the wooden box. The truth had hurt. The lies had hurt even more. But the hardest part was accepting that love could exist beside fear, that friendship could survive betrayal, and that sometimes the people who pushed you away were only trying to keep you from walking directly into danger. Jimin had once shouted that he never wanted to see Jungkook and Taehyung again. Now, he understood what he had really meant. He didn't want to see the lies again. He didn't want to see secrets standing between them. He didn't want to wake up one morning and realize that the people he trusted had been strangers all along. So when Jungkook quietly asked whether they could start over, Jimin didn't promise that everything would be the same. He simply nodded. Start with the truth. Jungkook nodded. Always. Outside, the last drops of rain slipped from the roof. The house became quiet. For the first time in weeks, Jimin felt the weight in his chest begin to loosen. Not disappear, not completely, but enough for him to breathe. His mother watched the three young men standing together in the living room and silently prayed that the truth would not destroy them. Because some secrets were buried to protect people. Others were buried because someone was afraid of what would happen when the truth came back. And Jimin's story had only just begun.
The letter remained open on the table when the lights suddenly went out. Jimin's head snapped toward the ceiling. The house fell into darkness. For one breath, nobody moved. Then his mother's glass slipped from her hand and shattered against the floor. "Don't move," Jungkook whispered. Jimin could hear his own heartbeat, fast, heavy, too loud. Taehyung stood immediately, his chair scraping across the floor. "Jungkook." "I know." A faint sound came from outside, footsteps, not running, walking slowly across the wet pavement. Jimin stared toward the window. The curtains were still. Then came 3 soft knocks against the front door. Knock, knock, knock. His mother's face turned white. Jimin noticed. "Mom," she didn't answer. The knocking came again, this time harder. Jungkook moved toward the door. Jimin grabbed his wrist. "Don't." Looked at him. "Someone is outside." "That doesn't mean you should open it." "I won't." Jungkook quietly released his wrist and moved toward the hallway instead. Taehyung followed. Jimin remained beside his mother. "Who do you think it is?" She stared at the door. "I don't know." "You're lying." His mother looked at him. Jimin's voice was quiet. "You always rub your thumb against your ring when you're scared." She looked down. Her thumb was moving across the old ring on her finger. She stopped immediately. "You've done that since I was little," Jimin said. His mother closed her eyes. "I thought I could protect you." "You keep saying that." "I meant it." "But from whom?" She didn't answer. The knocking stopped. Silence returned. Then a piece of paper slid beneath the front door. Jimin stared at it. Jungkook crouched down and picked it up. There were only 2 words. "Look up." Jungkook slowly raised his head. Everyone followed his gaze. Above the front door was a small security camera. Its red indicator light was blinking. Taehyung whispered, "Someone has access to the system." Jungkook immediately checked his phone. No signal. Looked at his own phone. Nothing. His mother stepped backward. The basement. Jimin frowned. "What about it?" "There is an old control panel downstairs." Looked at her. "You have a basement security system." She nodded. "Your father installed it." Stared at her. "Father never told me about that. He didn't want you to know." That sentence, the same explanation, the same wall between Jimin and the truth. Jimin's patience broke. "I am done hearing that." His mother flinched. "I want everything. You may not be ready." "I've been ready for years." Jimin's voice shook. "You were just too afraid to tell me." His mother lowered her eyes. Before she could respond, the light suddenly returned. The house flooded with yellow light. Jimin blinked. The security camera above the door was no longer blinking. It had been disconnected. Jungkook looked at Taehyung. "Someone was inside the system." Taehyung nodded. "And they wanted us to know it." Looked down. The photograph was still on the table. His father's old photograph, the photograph of the mysterious boy. He picked it up. "I want to know who he is." His mother slowly sat down. "He was your father's first son." Jimin froze. The room seemed to tilt. "Father's son?" "Yes, before me." She nodded. "His name was Minyu." Stared at her. "Where is he?" His mother's silence answered before her words did. "He disappeared." "You were born. Old was he?" "8." Looked at the photograph again. The boy's face suddenly felt different, not unfamiliar, almost painfully familiar. "What happened to him?" "I don't know." "You don't know?" "I was told he died." "Who told you?" "Your father." Min's expression hardened. "And you believed him?" "I wanted to." "Why?" His mother looked toward the window. "Because I had already lost one child." Jimin's breath caught. "You said he disappeared." "He did." "Then why are you talking like he's dead?" His mother looked at him. "Because your father told me there was no other possibility." Stepped closer. "Did you ever see a body?" "No." "Did you ever see a death certificate?" "No." "Then you never knew." His mother looked at him. Slowly sat down. His mind raced. The photograph, the envelopes, the black car, the woman, his father's letter, and now a brother whose existence had been hidden from him. Everything was connected, but there was one question that wouldn't leave him. "Why would someone send me that photograph now?" Taehyung answered quietly. "Because they want you to find him." Looked at him. "Or they want me to believe he exists." Taehyung nodded. "Exactly." Jungkook picked up the letter. There might be something else. Turned it over. Nothing. Then he examined the paper beneath the light. "Wait." Jimin stood. "What?" "There are indentations." came closer. Jungkook placed the letter beneath a desk lamp. Faint lines appeared across the bottom of the page. Someone had written on the paper above it. Jimin's mother stared. That wasn't there before. Jungkook carefully traced the marks with his finger. Your father wrote something on another sheet while this one was underneath. Can we read it? Maybe. Brought a pencil. Jungkook gently rubbed the side of the pencil across the paper. Letters slowly appeared. Jimin held his breath. The message was incomplete, but several words became visible. Minyu is alive. Jimin's fingers went numb. His mother covered her mouth. No, Jungkook looked at her. You didn't know? She shook her head. I thought he was dead. Stared at the words, Minyu is alive, 3 simple words, yet they changed the entire shape of his life. His brother might still be alive, somewhere, waiting or watching. There's more, Taehyung said. Jungkook continued. Another line slowly emerged. He doesn't know who he really is. Jimin's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? Nobody answered. Then the doorbell rang. Everyone froze. This time the security camera remained dark. Jungkook moved toward the entrance. Jimin followed. Wait. Looked back. Jimin whispered, what if it's him? Jungkook's expression softened. You don't know that. I know. Swallowed. I need to know. Jungkook slowly opened the door. Nobody stood outside. Only a small cardboard box rested on the doorstep. No name, no address. Jungkook picked it up. It was surprisingly light. They carried it inside. Jimin opened it. Inside was an old cassette tape, and beneath it was a photograph. Jimin lifted the photograph. His hands began to shake. It showed a young boy standing beside his father, Minyu. But this time the boy was older, around 16, and beside him stood Jungkook. Jimin's face went blank. Jungkook stared at the photograph. Never seen this. Slowly turned toward him. Then why are you in it? Jungkook didn't answer. Taehyung looked at him. Jungkook? I don't know. Jimin's mother stood suddenly. She stared at the photograph, then at Jungkook. Her expression changed, not fear, recognition. Jimin noticed immediately. She didn't answer. Why are you looking at him like that? She took one step backward. Jungkook looked confused. Where did you grow up? Jungkook frowned. Busan. Were you born September 1st? His mother shook her head. No, stared at her. What? That isn't what I mean. Looked between them. His mother's face was becoming increasingly pale. You were adopted, she whispered. Jungkook froze. The room became silent. What? I remember your face. Jungkook's breathing changed. Face, you were there. Where? His mother looked at the photograph. At the hospital. Jungkook's eyes widened. What hospital? The night Minyu disappeared. Felt the room collapse around him. He looked at Jungkook, then at the photograph, then at his mother. What are you saying? His mother began to cry. I don't know anymore. Stepped closer. Tell us. I remember a little boy being brought into the hospital. She pointed at Jungkook. You were with him. Jungkook's lips parted. I was with Minho. Yes, but I don't remember. You were unconscious. Looked stunned. What happened after that? His mother shook her head. Your father came to me and told me the boy had died. Stared at her. And Jungkook? She looked at him. Your father told me nothing about Jungkook. Slowly sat down. His hands were shaking. If I was there. He stopped. Jimin finished the thought. Then you might have known my brother. Stared at the photograph. A strange sensation moved through him. A memory, something buried, a hallway, white lights, the smell of disinfectant. A child's hand gripping his sleeve, a voice whispering his name. He closed his eyes. Jungkook, he heard it again, a boy's voice. Don't let them take me. Jungkook opened his eyes sharply. I remember. Everyone turned toward him. Jimin asked. Jungkook's breathing became uneven. I remember a boy. Moved closer. What boy? He was crying. What did he say? Jungkook looked at Jimin. He called someone his brother. Jimin's heart stopped. What did he call him? Jungkook swallowed. Jimin. Silence. Jimin couldn't breathe. The photograph slipped from his fingers. Taehyung caught it before it hit the floor. Jimin stared at Jungkook. You knew me? I was a child. You knew me? I don't know. Stepped backward. His entire life suddenly felt like a story someone else had written. His friendship with Jungkook, the unexplained familiarity, the feeling that Jungkook had always understood him without words, the strange comfort of his presence. Everything suddenly looked different. Jungkook stood. I didn't know. Looked at him. You don't remember. Not everything. Then why do I feel like I've known you forever? Jungkook's eyes filled with tears. I don't know. Looked at the cassette tape. There may be answers on that. Wiped his face. Do you have a player? His mother nodded. Your father's old study. They moved upstairs. The study had remained untouched for years. Dust covered the shelves. Old books filled the walls. A faint smell of cedar lingered in the air. Jimin's mother unlocked the desk. Inside was an old cassette player. Taehyung inserted the tape. The machine clicked. Static filled the room. Then a man's voice emerged. Jimin stopped breathing. His father's voice. If you're hearing this, then someone has finally discovered the truth. Jimin's eyes filled with tears, the recording continued. I don't know who will find this tape, perhaps Jimin. Perhaps the person I spent years trying to protect him from. His mother covered her mouth. Jungkook stood completely still. The voice continued. Minho did not die. Jimin closed his eyes. He was taken. The tape crackled. I searched for him for years. Every time I came close, someone moved him. Looked at Jungkook, his father continued. And then I discovered something worse. Recording paused. A faint clicking sound could be heard. Minho was not the only child involved. Jungkook's expression changed. Jimin slowly turned toward him. His father's voice continued. The second child was given a new identity. The tape became distorted. Then the voice returned. If that child ever comes back into Jimin's life, do not tell Jimin the truth until you know who is controlling him. The recording stopped. Silence. Nobody moved. Jimin looked at Jungkook. Jungkook looked devastated. Taehyung slowly stepped between them. Jimin shook his head. No, his voice was barely audible. I need to hear the rest. Isn't any? Looked at the machine. The tape ended. Stared at it, then he noticed something. The cassette had been deliberately cut. A section of tape was missing. Someone removed part of it. Jungkook examined the cassette. Recently. Looked at him. How do you know? Jungkook pointed to the tape. The edges are clean. Taehyung's expression hardened. Someone wanted us to hear only part of the truth. Slowly sat down. His mother's phone suddenly rang. She looked at the screen. Unknown number. Jimin watched her. Answer it. She hesitated. She answered. Nobody spoke. Then a man's voice came through. You finally found the boy. Her face went white. Jimin stood. Who is this? The man laughed softly. You should ask Jungkook. The call ended. Everyone turned toward Jungkook. He stood frozen. Jimin stared at him. Who are you? Jungkook shook his head. I don't know. Deep inside, something had already begun to return. A hospital corridor, a locked door, a woman's voice, a boy crying, and a name he had forgotten for most of his life, Minyu. Jungkook closed his eyes. Then he remembered one final thing, a tattoo on the boy's wrist, a small black crescent. He opened his eyes. Jimin. Remember something else. Jungkook's voice trembled. Your brother had a mark on his wrist. Jimin's face tightened. What kind? A black crescent. His mother suddenly gasped. Jimin turned toward her. What? She stared at Jungkook, then slowly looked at Jimin. I gave you that mark. Jimin frowned. What are you talking about? When you were little. She pulled down the sleeve of his shirt. On Jimin's wrist was a tiny faded scar, a crescent-shaped mark. Jungkook stared at it, his face drained of color. Jimin looked down. Neither of them spoke. Because now there was only one question left. If Jimin carried the same mark as the missing boy, then who had Jimin's father actually been trying to protect? And why had Jungkook been standing beside Minyu the night he disappeared?
The room remained silent as Jimin stared at the crescent-shaped scar on his wrist. His mother's hands trembled. Jungkook couldn't take his eyes off it. Taehyung slowly stepped closer to the desk. There's something wrong, he said. Jimin looked at him. Photograph, picked it up again and turned it over. There was writing on the back. Jimin took it from him. His father's handwriting appeared beneath the faded ink. Minyu was not his real name. Jimin's breath caught. His mother closed her eyes. You knew? No, she whispered. I knew your father had secrets, but I never knew this. Stared at the photograph. Then who was Minho? Jimin's mother looked at him. He was the child your father found. Jimin frowned. Found? She nodded. Your father discovered that someone had been moving children between different identities. He found a boy who had been given the name Minyu. Why did he take him? To protect him. From whom? She looked toward the window. From the people who had taken him in the first place. Jimin's thoughts raced. Then what happened? Your father tried to expose them. They stopped him. Yes, by making everyone believe Minyu was dead. His mother nodded. Jungkook suddenly remembered the hospital, the white corridor, the crying boy, the man's voice telling him to forget. He pressed a hand against his forehead. I remember another face. Looked at him. Who's my father? Jungkook froze. I remember him standing outside the hospital room. Taehyung stared at him. You remember your father? Jungkook nodded slowly. He was talking to Jimin's father. Jimin's eyes widened. What were they saying? Jungkook closed his eyes. They were arguing. About what? About me? Silence. Jungkook's breathing became uneven. He said I wasn't supposed to remember anything. Stared at him. Then his mother's expression changed. She suddenly understood. Jungkook wasn't the second child. Looked at her. Was the witness. Opened his eyes. His mother continued. Your father knew Jungkook had seen what happened to Minyu. That's why they changed his identity. Stepped backward. My memories were suppressed, she whispered. Jimin looked at Jungkook. All those years, all those unexplained feelings, all those moments when Jungkook had looked at him as though he was remembering something he couldn't name. It finally made sense. Jimin walked toward him. I'm sorry. Looked at him. For what? For throwing you out. Shook his head. You had every reason. I didn't know the truth. Neither did I. They stood quietly. Then Jimin reached out. He didn't hug him. He simply placed a hand on Jungkook's shoulder. It was enough. Taehyung watched them with tired eyes. There is still one person we haven't found. Looked at him. The woman. His mother nodded. She knows what happened. They searched the old records until sunrise. At 6 in the morning they found a name. Not Minyu, not Jungkook. Another name. Seo Meyer. Jimin's mother's former colleague, the woman from the photograph. They found an old address. Jungkook insisted on going. Jimin went with him. Taehyung followed. The house stood at the edge of the city, surrounded by overgrown trees and broken fencing. The front door was unlocked. Inside, the air smelled of dust and old paper. Mira. Jimin called, no answer. They searched the rooms. Then Jimin heard something, a faint humming. Someone was upstairs. They followed the sound. A woman stood beside a window. She was older now, her hair streaked with gray. She slowly turned. Her eyes landed on Jimin, then Jungkook. Her face collapsed. You found each other. Stepped forward. Who is Minho? She looked at him for a long moment, then she whispered, you are. Jimin stopped. Jungkook froze. Taehyung stared at her. Jimin said. Myra shook her head. Your father was told that the boy named Minho had died, but he was wrong. She pointed toward Jimin. Minho was the identity they gave you before your father rescued you. Couldn't breathe. His entire childhood had been built around a name that wasn't his. Myra continued. Your mother gave you a new identity after your father died. Jimin became your real life. His mother had tears running down her face. You were too young to remember. Jimin looked at her. You knew. I knew you were my son. Her voice broke. I didn't know everything about your past. Looked down at his wrist, the crescent scar, the mark from his childhood. It had never been a random scar. It was an identification mark. Myra looked at Jungkook. And you were the only person who saw him before his memory was taken away. Jungkook's eyes filled with tears. I remembered him. Yes, you cared about him. Looked at Jimin. You were my first friend. Smiled through his tears. Then I guess some things survived. Mira nodded. But there is one final truth. Everyone became still. Your father didn't disappear because he was running from them. Stared at her. He disappeared because he was protecting your mother. His mother lowered her head. He left evidence behind. Myra continued. Evidence that could expose everyone involved. Is it? Mira pointed toward Jimin. You have carried it all your life. Jimin frowned. What? The crescent. His hand moved instinctively toward his wrist. The scar isn't a mark. Mira stepped closer. It's a symbol. Stared at her. What does it mean? It means the evidence is hidden in the place your father knew no one would search. Jimin's mother suddenly understood. His childhood room. They returned home before noon. The room had been untouched for years. Jimin opened the old wooden cabinet. Nothing. Then Jungkook noticed